No sports.
10-5 touchdown!
97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
Oh, what a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Monday edition of Game Night, and it's literally Game Night because the Eagles play tonight. And we'll get you all the details on tonight's game right here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Writer over at 973ESPN.com, Scott Grayson, also from Fox 29 News, will join us coming up at 6:20. He'll be back for Grayson's Grades tomorrow, but he'll join us to preview the game tonight here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Of course, Merrill Reese, Mike Quick on the call here on your home for Eagles football and the NFL in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN. Also, you can join the conversation. You can shoot us a message through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Your thoughts on the Eagles game tonight. Who do you think will win and why? We'd love to hear from you guys as well. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Like I said, you could DM the show through the free 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. But before we get to the Eagles stuff, begrudgingly, I got to get to the Sixers stuff. And I say begrudgingly because I'm going to be completely frank with you guys. Anybody who knows me knows that football is my favorite sport. Of all the team sports, football is my favorite. It's above basketball. It's above baseball. It's above hockey. It's above all of them, okay? But the Sixers had a media day on the same day the Eagles played on Monday Night Football. Now, I don't know if that was just incidental. I don't know if that was purposeful. But whatever the reason is, I can't not talk about what was said this morning and explain something that was said this morning to everyone out there. Because at the end of the day, I really don't care what your position on Ben Simmons is. All right? Not because I don't care what you think, but because at the end of the day, there was something that was said today at the media presser that tells you everything you need to know about Ben Simmons and his future, who he is as a person, and everything else. Today at Sixers Media Day, almost everyone was asked a variation of a question about Ben Simmons. And everyone stated, very straightforward, that they want Ben Simmons here. That's great. Because they understand something that I don't think half the people out there want to admit. That the Sixers with Ben Simmons are better than the Sixers without Ben Simmons. It's just a fact of life. All right? If you don't trade Ben Simmons and he sits out the entire year, you lose something on your roster. It's just fact, end of story. But the problem with Ben Simmons is the other thing that was said today. Joel Embiid mentioned that this is a business. Joel Embiid and Doc Rivers, when they spoke about the issue of the fans and their influence on Ben, what they said about Sixers fans was not a reflection on the fan base. And anybody who thinks otherwise is not paying attention. What Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid and Danny Green and Tobias Harris said about the Sixers fans had nothing to do with the fans. It had everything to do with Ben Simmons. Because at the end of the day, Ben Simmons, no matter how many All-Star games he has been selected to, no matter how many NBA defensive first teams that he has been honored with, no matter what is on Ben Simmons' resume, the reality is that Ben Simmons is selfish. Ben Simmons did not have to do things the way they have been done. Ben Simmons chose his own selfish, personal, and professional desires over what was best for the team moving forward. And part of the reason why he chose that is because Ben Simmons doesn't care about his trade value. Ben Simmons doesn't care about what is best for his teammates. Ben Simmons has shown to have, frankly, a very selfish outlook on things. If Ben Simmons really cared about his teammates, if Ben Simmons really cared about the people that he plays with, if these guys are really his friends, if he really respects Doc Rivers and the Sixers organization and blah, 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 then he wouldn't let this whole situation hang over everyone's head. The reality is that Sixer fans are not the problem. Simmons is the problem. And there's no other way to interpret what Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris and Danny Green all said today. They were all trying to say the right thing because deep down, these are good human beings. Joel Embiid is a good human being. He has a good heart, he works hard, and he wants to win. Doc Rivers cares about winning, but he also cares about people. He has a long history of showing that in his professional and personal life. Tobias Harris has done more for charity than probably half the league combined has. There's a lot of things that you don't know about that Tobias Harris has done for charity. He doesn't want to look for headlines. He just does the right thing. And Danny Green is considered one of the best locker room teammate guys in the league. You have 4 men who got up in front of the media today and took the bullets and answered every question the best way they could because they're professionals and they're good people. Which is not the same that I can say for Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is only caring about Ben Simmons. Now, that's his prerogative and it's his right to do that. But it doesn't make the way he's going about it right. When Doc Rivers and Joel and everybody else talks about how the Sixers fans may or may not have impacted Ben Simmons, it's not a reflection on the Sixers fans. Because at the end of the day, fans are allowed to say and do whatever they want within reason, okay? As long as you're not committing a crime or you're not doing something illegal or you're not doing something immoral, who cares? Fans can do whatever they want. So when Doc and Joel and everybody else talk about Sixer fans and Philadelphia, they're not condemning or criticizing or complaining about Sixer fans. They're explaining to you that, listen, this is who Sixer fans are. And that just doesn't vibe with Ben Simmons. Listen, not every player is built to deal with the type of criticism and the type of attitudes that come with playing in Philadelphia. Cities like Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Chicago, these are cities that care more about sports many times than their own players do. Not that the players don't care, okay? But it's that there are 2 kinds of athletes in this world. There are the athletes who love to play the game, and then there are athletes who love what the game does for their bank account. And if you ever had a question about which one was Ben Simmons, this whole situation should have already explained that to you. And I accept who Ben Simmons is. I don't like how he handles his business, but I accept and understand who he is. So whether you like or dislike Ben Simmons, whether you are for or against Ben Simmons, no matter what your position is on Ben Simmons, the sooner you accept he is who he is, the easier it is for you to move on. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is. Currently, the Sixers and Ben Simmons are separated, and the divorce papers are processing. And as soon as Daryl Morey finds an adequate and appropriate trade partner in return for Ben Simmons, then the divorce papers can be officially signed, sealed, and delivered, and they can be done. Right now, Ben and the 76ers are separated. They're on their way to a divorce. It's on the rest of the league to facilitate the rest. Because I don't blame Daryl Morey for not taking pennies on the dollar. Now, he may have to take a slight discount than what he wants, because at the end of the day, I think Daryl Morey has negotiated himself out of certain situations. But it's like going to the car dealership. I've said this multiple times to you guys. You go to the car dealership, the dealer comes in and offers you an offer. You counter offer. The dealer says, I can't do that offer. You says, well, I can't do your offer. So now it's on both of you to find a compromise. Right now, Daryl Morey is looking for a compromise because he's not going to take the low ball offer, and the rest of the league is not going to accept the high demand. And that's where we are with the Sixers and the Ben Simmons situation. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, the Eagles are in action tonight. And of course, you can chime in on your thoughts on the Eagles game, Sixers, Ben Simmons, and more. Of course, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City. We'll also take your text messages, 609-403-0973. Of course, Game Night being brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Monday night matchup tonight, Philadelphia at Dallas. And FanDuel Sportsbook is about to make it even bigger because FanDuel is giving new customers 30-1 odds on either the Cowboys or Eagles to win. That means you can win $150 on a $5 bet. Offers like this are just one of the many reasons I love betting football on FanDuel Sportsbook. Their app is simple to use with unique, fun bet types like same-game parlays and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. FanDuel is sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. So see for yourself why FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. Sign up with promo code Hennig before Dallas takes on Philadelphia tonight. You can win $150 on a $5 bet. Remember to use the promo code Hennig when you sign up on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older, play and present in New Jersey. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max deposit $150. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Coming up next, 97.3 ESPN.com Eagles writer and Fox 29 sports anchor Scott Grayson joins us next to dig deeper into previewing Eagles-Cowboys. Monday football, it's tonight. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
Wake up with Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
We're back on Tuesday, reacting to Monday Night Football as the Cowboys look for their second straight win. We'll tell you if their defense showed up against Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles. Tuesday morning on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Listen weekday mornings at 6 on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Excludes prior sales. See dealer for details. At Bennett Chevrolet, your vehicle will never be worth more than it is this month. That's a fact. Bennett will pay you top dollar on the spot and will buy your vehicle even if you don't buy one of ours. No sales pressure, just top dollar for your trade. In fact, this month only, Bennett will pay you a minimum $8,000 for your trade. Let me repeat. Bennett will pay you a minimum $8,000 towards any pre-owned vehicle on our lot. No matter the condition or miles, even if your trade's a total wreck, it's worth $8,000 this month only. Imagine how much more we'll pay for a good quality trade-in. Get to Bennett Chevy and you could drive away in a newer vehicle with the same or even lower payments than you're making on your old vehicle. Plus, at Bennett, we have non-commissioned sales folks who are paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. So there's never any sales pressure and never any need to negotiate. Find new roads at Bennett Chevy. Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
It's game time. Football season is in full swing, and you can catch all the NFL action at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. It's time to get in on all the games you love. Experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet at FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's off the boardwalk, Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live as always at 973 on YouTube and Twitter. We can do your guys' thoughts and comments on the game tonight coming up in just a bit. Keep the messages coming in on the 973 ESPN mobile app. DM the show. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, text board is open 609-403-0973. Right now, to dig deeper into the game, joining us right now on the live stream is Scott Grayson, Fox 29 News. And of course, you can catch all of his Grayson's grades over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Scott, how you doing today?
I'm good, Josh. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. And you know what? I'm excited. There's an Eagles game tonight. But, Scott, I think the one concern everyone has is, what is this Eagles team, right? You know, 1 week you see one team, week 2 you see another team. You know, I even broke it down last week. I said, look, they ran one offense week 1. They ran another offense week 2. So what can we actually expect from this Eagles team tonight?
Well, they even ran a different offense week 2, half 2 versus half 1. First half things were going better and they were moving the ball well. And you credit the Niners with making the changes they needed to change that and force the Eagles into positions they didn't want to be in. The biggest thing is they got to win first down. It's so much easier to move the sticks when you are moving the ball on first down 3, 4, maybe even 5 yards. So they have to do better on first down. And quite frankly, everybody's going to be curious to see what happens with the changes on the offensive line. Of course, Jordan Mailata's out. You have Brandon Brooks out. So you've got Landon Dickerson and a rookie. Now, granted, he's between Kelsey and Lane Johnson. If you're going to put a rookie, that's about as good of a place to put him. And then you've got, Andre Dillard. And quite frankly, I think everybody's just not been happy with Dillard, and therefore he's got an opportunity tonight. He's got an opportunity to correct the narrative that's been out there about him lately. And we'll see what he does with that. But if I were the Eagles, I would be doing some designed rollouts to the right side, take a little pressure off Dillard, keep Hurts from having to worry about his blind side quite as much. So those are some of the things I'm looking for tonight. But, yeah, I would also say what you said about the Eagles. We're not sure exactly who they are. I don't know that we know who the Cowboys are yet either. They've played a couple of interesting games themselves where they've looked good and bad at times, in those games. So I think this game's going to tell us a lot about both teams and perhaps about who the front runner is really in this division.
When you think about this matchup, you mentioned Dillard. Obviously, that's one side of it. The other part is Dickerson. And the Eagles, they're going to be rolling out there all guys they've drafted in the last decade. We know this organization, they've invested a lot of resources into the trenches. How much is that going to come into focus tonight? That this is the night where, hey, you got a decade worth of drafting and signing and acquiring guys. Tonight's the night that better pay off, right?
Well, for a couple of years, we've been talking about how they had to get younger. All these older players who were getting banged up and were really causing a bunch of changes on the starting lineups for both sides of the ball. It was costing this team the inconsistency, the constant changes and being in flux. That all matters especially on the line when you're talking about needing to know what the guy next to you is going to do without saying anything to him because you've repped it so many times in practice next to each other. So, them getting younger in those spots was so much needed. Now, we're talking about getting young in a hurry. They're going really young and inexperienced. And we're going to find out what happens with that. Everybody's talked the big game about Landon Dickerson. Now it's time for him to show us that he was worth a first-round pick, even though they got him in the second round due to the injuries he was dealing with. So those are all things I think we're going to see on display tonight. The Eagles got younger. Will it help them get over, a big hump here tonight, winning in Dallas? It's something they haven't done in a while. And don't forget about Devontae Smith. This guy's been due, in my opinion, to have a monster game, and I think the secondary in Dallas is a game where this could be a game where Devontae Smith, shows up big. Week 1, he looked good, got his first touchdown, decent numbers, but I think this is a game where you can start looking for him to maybe try to break out a little bit and be a great opportunity, great time for him to do it, especially for this offense to try to show that. You talk about the youth, and we're still on offense. Dallas Goedert, who the Eagles basically stole from Dallas. In that draft a few years ago. A lot of interesting things to watch. You're right with these young players, and we've got to look at, who's going to replace Brandon Graham on the defensive line, who's going to get a lot of those snaps. I frankly hope it's Josh Sweat. I think it should be. Derek Barnett has made some monster mental mistakes that have cost this team, and I think you don't sit him the entire game. I think you pick your spots where he comes in, but I think Josh Sweat should get the bulk of Brandon Graham's reps.
Scott Grayson joining us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter at SGraysonFox29. Scott Grayson's, the Grayson's Graders will be up there later tonight, tomorrow for everyone to check out. So when you're starting to do the grades, where are your eyes going first tonight? What position group, what situation is going to be the first thing that Scott Grayson, when he starts doing the grades, is going to keep his eye on tonight?
It's for me, it's going to be offensive line. And then when the Eagles don't have the ball, it's going to be on the replacements for Brandon Graham. So I would say arguably the defensive line, because I also am very interested in seeing what the Eagles try to do with Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave on the rookie center, who's very inexperienced, only got a couple games under his belt with the Cowboys. I think you look at two veterans who should be able to try to abuse him. Those two guys right there should be able to try to confuse him, abuse him, maybe cause some bad snaps because he's worried about blocking them. So I'm on the defensive line and the offensive line. Those are two places because of what we talked about already with the offensive line, about Brandon Graham's replacement on the defensive line, and what I just said about Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham. I think the key tonight for the Eagles defensively is to bust up that line, to have the linebackers fill in and stop the run. And if they can make the Cowboys one-dimensional, I'm fine with Dak throwing the ball 50 times. They're going to score. The Eagles are going to have to score tonight too. And quite frankly, it's time the defense comes up with a takeaway or two tonight. I mean, they need to. They've had opportunities. The ball hasn't been caught when it's hit them in the hands on defense. But you asked where I'm watching first. It's offense and defensive line and seeing how the Eagles do in those matchups.
You mentioned the defensive line. Let's hit on that real quick. To me, what's interesting about this game tonight is you have two extremely different defensive ends here who are probably going to get a lot of reps tonight. Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett. Sweat got that big contract recently. He's a guy who's been very vocal on social media saying, I'm healthy, I'm fine, stop worrying about my knees. Derek Barnett, on the other hand, is a guy who's had a very rocky time here. It's been documented, all the personal fouls that he's committed. He came in with all this expectation and talent as a first-round pick, but as Josh Sweat, who has looked like more like the first-round pick than Barnett has.
Yeah, and look, that's got to bother Barnett. Sweat got paid and he hasn't. And let's be honest, Barnett is out there in what is amounting to a contract year for him. And so far, he hasn't performed in it to get a contract from the Eagles. Now, you talk about opportunities. They do come. And when they get those opportunities, these guys have to take full advantage of them. So will Sweat take advantage of that? He's the guy who's been paid now. They've got to put him out there because they paid him. But Barnett, when he gets his chances, look, he's got to start putting some things together. He has shown, bursts and flashes at times, but he's never shown the consistent ability to be that guy coming off the edge, doing the things that they talked about out of college, being like a Reggie White. I mean, I remember those comparisons being made when he came out. I haven't seen that. Maybe at times here and there, there's been a flash of it, but nothing that has really shown you he can be that guy. So now he's got an opportunity. He's going to have an opportunity on a national stage tonight. All eyes are on this game around the league. So if the Eagles aren't going to pay him, he's got an opportunity to show some other teams that maybe they should. But that's the thing, though. The mental mistakes, and I'm talking like you mentioned, the dumb, stupid, idiotic penalties that just kill this team and extend drives for the opponent. Without that one personal foul, it was going to be third and pretty long for San Francisco. Maybe the Eagles get the ball back, and maybe they win this game without that penalty. I mean, that's putting a lot out there, but that penalty was that big in my mind and that costly and that stupid, and he can't do that stuff.
Staying on the defensive side, obviously one of the things that Dallas is known for is their offensive firepower, but week 1, it was all the passing game. Week 2, it was the run. They almost had 200 rushing yards on the Chargers in that week 2 game. How do the Eagles limit, though, the Cowboys? Because we know for the first 2 games, they've only allowed 23 points. So we know the defense is capable, but what is the best way they can slow down Dallas?
Well, I think the biggest thing, we talked about, and I mentioned there's going to be points scored tonight, hopefully for both teams. But the biggest thing for the Eagles is like they did in week 1, you just need to, not allow the touchdowns. There might be one here or there, but you really got to limit the amount of touchdowns, hold them to field goals. Those are victories in my mind. And the biggest way to stop this run, the pressure's on the linebackers. I think the Eagles are going to be able to do enough to, create holes for the linebackers to fill in. And I felt like in the first game against the Falcons in that first half, first couple drives, the linebackers were late to those holes, but then they seemed to fix that. Now, last week they did okay against the run in the first half, And then again, the Niners made some great, changes in the middle of the game to open up the running lanes, and the offense was able to do whatever they wanted. So what do the Eagles got to do? I think they've got to win the battle up front, like I talked about with the defensive line. But then those linebackers really have to come up and make their tackles as well. That's going to be the big key to me because, like I said, I think you got to make Dak throw the ball 50 times tonight to win. Therefore, they're always in 3rd and 6, 7, 8 yards because you're able to keep the running game in check. And if they do that, I think the Eagles have a good chance to win this game. But the linebackers are going to be key in that regard to helping to stop that run.
Let me pull out one of the things you just mentioned about game planning. Obviously, these are two very different coaching staffs. Sirianni, Gannon, Steichen. You got the youth movement on the one sideline. On the other sideline, you got McCarthy, Dan Quinn. These are very different coaching staffs, and both have been looked at very differently. I know from my perspective, I think Hard Knocks did more to hurt Mike McCarthy's reputation than it did to help it personally because he looked like a buffoon for about 5 weeks. I mean, the dude literally curses thinking that he's getting the guys pumped up, and then they pan the camera over to the players and they're like, all right, whatever, coach. I mean, Kellen Moore looks like he's like a translator for Mike McCarthy to Dak Prescott half the time. So these are completely different coaching staffs coming into this game.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot about what the Eagles are able to do with their coaching staff. Look, with an older, more experienced coaching staff that's been around like the Cowboys, you're going to have a book on those guys, tendencies, what they like to do in certain situations. So the question is, have the Eagles coaches done their homework in that regard to take advantage of perhaps understanding a little bit? In the same regard, there's no book really on the Eagles offensive coaches or defensive coaches and how they like to call games. There's 2 games worth of film at this point. What are you able to take away from that? Probably not a whole lot. The question is, are the Eagles going to continue with the tendencies they've shown? And they've got to do their own homework. And this is where self-scouting becomes important, right? If you have been able to, if the Eagles coaches did the right thing and went back and looked at both sides of the ball, what did we do in the second half that was so predictable that they made changes to and were able to beat us with? Because we can't do that again. And the Cowboys at the same time are watching that saying, what did the Niners do to the Eagles in the second half last week? And can we do similar things? So you're going to have to watch. It's the chess match that goes on. And you're right. You're going to see on display tonight an older, more veteran, more experienced coaching staff against one that is the opposite of that. It's one of the many things in this game, along with the rivalry, that are going to make it fascinating to see tonight and give us plenty to talk about tomorrow.
Scott, one more before I let you go. I always appreciate your insights on these things. Scott Grayson's grades will be on the website after Eagles-Cowboys early this morning, later tonight, depending on where you check out the website over at 973ESPN.com. Jalen Hurts, 6 starts in the Eagles uniform. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a perspective. What is the Scott Grayson perspective on the young quarterback?
Look, my thought on him is if you expected him to be a franchise quarterback, I think he set the bar too high. I'm not saying he can't be that. I'm just saying that he's a young, inexperienced quarterback, and young and inexperienced quarterbacks are going to do good things, and they're also going to make mistakes. Now, he hasn't turned the ball over yet this year. That's a huge key for me. You've got to, and I think the Eagles, if they don't turn it over, are always going to be in every game they play. So that's one of the biggest tasks for him is don't turn it over. Outside of that, he's done a lot of things. I like his presence in the pocket. I like his feel of the pocket. He seems to sense when it's collapsing and try to get out of there. We saw too many times with Carson Wentz here, holding the ball and staying in the pocket just a split second too long, and then it led to sacks. I also like when Jalen Hurts gets out of the pocket, and this is an unfair comparison, but it's the one I'm going with. I see a lot of Russell Wilson in him in the sense that he's not looking to run. He keeps his eyes downfield, and he's trying to find an open receiver. Running is his last resort. I like that. I think that that's great. He's got it in his arsenal if he needs it, and when he needs it, he can try to run and get a first down in a key situation. But so there's plenty of things I think he's got to work on. Overall, though, to me, I thought like maybe too many deep shots last week. He was really trying to make a backbreaking play on the Niners to spark his offense. Is the idea wrong? No, it's not wrong. He was hoping maybe he'd draw a flag too, but your offense needed to stay on the field a little bit, keep the defense an opportunity to get a break because they were constantly on the field in that second half. Be smarter in that regard. Try to move the ball down the field methodically, make those plays that might be there for 4 or 5 yards, and then move the chains. Don't always keep trying to go downfield. Great throw to Rager. Rager's got to stay inbounds. That would have been a touchdown. Maybe the game's totally different at that point. But overall, I like a lot of things he does. I'm optimistic that he could be the guy here, and I'm all for and hoping that he is, because those 3 first-round picks that you could be staring at for next year, imagine if you don't need to get a quarterback with them because the one you have is pretty good and you can put some weapons around him with first-round pick material. Wow. I mean, to me, that's the better formula to getting this team back to where it wants to be faster.
Scott Grayson at S Grayson Fox 29 on Twitter. Make sure you check out Grayson's grades, 973ESPN.com, the 973 ESPN mobile app. And Scott will be joining Mike Gill tomorrow to recap the Eagles game and all the grades on the Sports Bash here on 973 ESPN. Scott, appreciate you jumping on tonight. And really quick before I let you go, are you watching Manningcast or regular broadcast?
No, that stuff's entertaining to me, but, for what I'm doing and what I've got to do with the game, and I'm more old fashioned, like give me the game with a play-by-play and a color guy. And, I enjoy seeing the clips on Twitter from what they do later. And I think it is enjoyable. It's a great idea to do something different, but I'll be watching the standard old fashioned broadcast tonight.
So yeah, and I mentioned this last week and I already have it all set up. I'm watching the standard broadcast for the game, but I have Manning and Eli DVR'd so I can rewatch it with them.
Yeah,
so that's
a good way to do it.
That's what I'm doing tonight. So
there you go.
Scott, appreciate you jumping on. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Enjoy the game, Josh.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Always appreciate Scott Grayson joining us. Of course, our football conversation being brought to you by the folks over at FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. It's time to experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get in on all the games you love at the FanDuel Sportsbook in Bally's Hotel and Casino, Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook is conveniently located off the boardwalk, featuring 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and various lounge seats. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Next, we will hear from you guys. I see messages on the YouTube stream. I see messages over on the text board at 609-403-0973. You can also chime in through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. All what you guys think coming up on the other side, as well as recapping the big weekend in sports here on Game Night with yours truly, Josh Hennig, on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's week 3 of the 2021 season. Tonight in Big D as the Eagles face the Dallas Cowboys.
We circle this date the second the schedule comes out.
There's nothing normal about playing against the Dallas Cowboys.
Pre-game coverage begins at 7. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 8. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Prop is America's marketplace to buy and sell sports bets. Check out the new PropSwap.com, which is filled with fresh features like filtering tickets based on value, browse the activity feed to stay in the know, a loyalty rewards program that turns sales into extra cash, and much more. Use promo code ODDS on your first deposit, and PropSwap will match your first deposit up to $500. PropSwap, where America buys and sells sports bets.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app. We are live as always on YouTube and Twitter. Just follow at 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget 97.3's ESPN mobile app. It's free. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Download the app, get all the latest on the Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, Flyers, as well as local high school sports coverage over at 97.3 ESPN.com. It's all on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. You also can listen to 97.3 wherever you go. Sports Bash with Mike Gill, Game Night with Josh Hennig, The Locker Room with Billy Schweim, all that and more right there on the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. And, of course, you can DM the show. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. As promised, I will get some of your guys' messages, your predictions for the game tonight, your thoughts on the game, the situation, your questions and comments. Of course, like I said, you can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. Of course, you can text in 609-403-0973 is the text board. And, of course, we are live on YouTube and Twitter. And you can chime in just like Jeff does over on the YouTube channel. So I hope Dillard takes advantage of his opportunity. You know, Jeff, I think that Dillard is going to be at least a part of a key to the game. It's not going to be the key to tonight's game, but, you know, I usually like to give my keys to the game each game for the Eagles, and I think that one of my keys has to do with Dillard. It's the offensive line. You guys heard me ask Scott Grayson about it a little bit ago. I generally believe that this game tonight has a lot to do with the offensive line because remember, the Cowboys do not have DeMarcus Lawrence. Without him, they are not the defensive line making a huge impact. So they're going to use Micah Parsons like they did last week as this guy who's going to impact the game. And when I look at Micah Parsons, I think that he's only one guy. You don't compromise the entire game plan for one guy. You game plan against him. And I think that if Dillard plays tonight the way that he did at Washington State, the Eagles can contain the Cowboys pass rush. Because the one thing that Dillard was good at in college was being a pass blocker. He just was not, he had almost no experience as a run blocker because of Mike Leach's offense at Washington. But the one thing he did very well is he had the footwork and the athleticism to be a very, very good pass blocker. So when I look at Dillard dealing with the Cowboys defense, whether it's Gregory, whether it's Parsons across from him, whoever lines up across from him, if Dillard plays to what we know he can do, I think he does take advantage of his opportunity, Jeff. And I think that he can win those battles. But the bigger question is the whole Eagles offensive line. They dominated the trenches in week 1. They played actually well overall in week 2. Don't hold the one time that Dillard got beat against him. And don't overlook the fact that the Eagles had multiple shots down the field. You need pass blockers to hold up at the point of attack in order for you to make the pass down the field. So to me, when I look at the Eagles offensive line, if they can continue to put up aggressive play and manhandle the Cowboys, they can win this game tonight. That's my first key to the game. Thanks, Jeff, for chiming on. My second key of the game is I think the Eagles defense needs to limit the Cowboys offense. Look, in week 1, the Cowboys were passing the ball all over the field. They were going up and down the field against the Bucs defense. In week 2, they had a little more trouble, but they ran the ball very well, 193 rushing yards. The Chargers defense, I don't think is that much better than the Eagles defense. I think the Eagles have done a very good job at limiting opponents. 6 points allowed to the Falcons, and then 17 to the 49ers. 2 teams that have showed you since playing the Eagles, they can put up way more points than that. So I think the Eagles defense has what it takes. The question is, as Scott Grayson was asking us earlier on the game night, no Brandon Graham. What does that mean? Does Derek Barnett step up? Does Josh Sweat earn his contract tonight? Who on the defense is going to be the impact guy? Is it going to be Javon Hargrave? Okay. We saw in the San Francisco game, he impacted the beginning of the game, but kind of fizzled out at the end of the game. Same thing in Atlanta. He was huge impact first half, not as much of an impact on the second half. Can he do it for a full 4 quarters? Does Fletcher Cox have a big game tonight? Do the Eagles secondary step up? Remember, still no Rodney McLeod. This is a Cowboys offense that still has Amari Cooper, that still has CD Lamb. Yeah, no Michael Gallup, but they still have 2 elite receivers out there who can do things against you. And don't forget, Dalton Schultz has played very well this year compared to last year. He is a threat in the passing game. Do not overlook him. Tony Pollard, we know he's a multidimensional weapon. You know he can go out there and have an impact on the game. And of course, Zeke is still Zeke. Whether he's getting a ton of touches or not, he's still dangerous. So to me, the second key to the game is if the Eagles defense can play the way they did the last 2 weeks and cut out the mistakes, cut out the penalties, and that'll be my third point, they can win. Third point is penalties. 22 penalties the first 2 weeks. I documented all this at 973ESPN.com last week. If the Eagles get rid of the dumb penalties, if they get rid of the penalties that are unnecessary, the helmet hits by Kevon Wallace and Derek Barnett, get rid of the unnecessary penalties, the brain cramps, the mental errors out of the game, they can win this game tonight. Get another message in here. Over on the text board, 609-403-0973. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Texter chimes in, says Eagles 27, Cowboys 24. Although he didn't say it that way. He said Birds 27, Cowgirls 24 is what he said. Listen, I don't think that this is going to be a blowout for Dallas. I really don't. And I think part of it has to do with this specific stat. According to ESPN Stats and Info, Jalen Hurts has 416 rushing yards in 6 career starts. That's the third most by a quarterback through his first 6 starts since 1950, behind Lamar Jackson and Tim Tebow. I think that Jalen Hurts has more of an impact on this game than people realize. I think the Cowboys have not played a mobile quarterback yet. They've played 2 quarterbacks who are known to stand in the pocket and throw. Brady and Herbert. Jalen Hurts is the most dynamic quarterback they have faced this year, bar none. And that's why for the same game parlay, you can throw up over on FanDuel Sportsbook. Here's what I'm looking at. I think Jalen Hurts over 54.5 rushing yards is a number to ride with. Also, Quez Watkins over 29.5 passing yards. Remember, he's had 2 big shots in the game, in the season, in games. He's played very well. And right now, the Eagles are currently on the spread plus 3.5. But if you want to gain a little extra value and you're willing to take the buy up a little bit, you combine those 3 I mentioned with the Eagles covering 7.5. All right. That 3-way parlay gets you plus 350 odds, which means $10 will get you 34. You walk away with 44. There's a little ideas for you over on FanDuel Sportsbook. Here's the deal. I genuinely think the Eagles can win tonight. But my confidence level isn't very high. So my heart says Eagles. My head says Cowboys. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to compromise. I say Cowboys win the game 24-21, and the Eagles cover the 3.5. But there's a part of me that wants to just throw a side bet on the Eagles money line just because. I don't foresee a scenario where the Eagles get trounced by Dallas. If they do, I'd be shocked, and there must have been something crazy that happened. But I think this is going to be a closer game than people realize. I think the Eagles' defense is going to be a challenge for the Cowboys, but I think ultimately they pull away. By the way, don't forget, thanks to FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's in Atlantic City, we gave you 8 winners this weekend. Josh Hennig, Game Night. Catch you tomorrow.